The council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Ji-hoon Park stepped forward. 47 years had passed since humanity first joined the Galactic Council. And in that time, the humans had proven themselves useful. They shared medical knowledge freely. They built trade routes that benefited everyone. They accepted positions that other species considered beneath them. They smiled, nodded, and always said, "Please," and "thank you." War Marshal Kravik found it disgusting. The Zelthian commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled hide reflecting the chamber's lights like polished armor. His people had conquered 14 star systems through strength alone. They took what they wanted because they could. That was the natural order of things. The strong dominated. The weak served, or disappeared. And humans were clearly weak. "Another complaint, Ambassador?" Kravik's voice rumbled through the chamber. "Let me guess. My ships flew too close to your little colonies again?" Ji-hoon kept his face calm. He had practiced this expression for years. "Your vessels damaged 3 orbital platforms last week. The week before, your fighters buzzed our medical transport. 2 months ago, your fleet conducted weapons tests in our shipping lanes." "Military exercises," Kravik said, waving one massive hand dismissively. "Perhaps if your species understood strength, you would not be so frightened by simple training." Ji-hoon pulled up a holographic display. Numbers scrolled past, each one representing an incident. Over the past 10 years, Zelthian forces have engaged in 217 provocative actions in human space. We have responded to each one with diplomatic protests and requests for dialogue. 217 times you have done nothing," Kravik said. He looked around the chamber at the other representatives. 217 times, you proved you are prey animals playing at civilization. Several species made sounds of agreement. Humans were useful. Yes. But everyone knew they were not warriors. Their ships looked like merchant vessels, with light weapons attached. Their soldiers were small, soft creatures without natural armor or claws. They had integrated into galactic society by being agreeable, not threatening. Council Arbiter Thesson, a being of flowing energy contained in a crystalline form, pulsed gently. "Ambassador Park, what response do you propose?" "The same response we have proposed each time," Ji-hoon said quietly. "We ask that Marshal Kravik respect our territorial boundaries. We ask for peaceful resolution. We ask that this pattern of provocation end before something regrettable happens." "Regrettable?" Kravik laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "What will you do, human? File another protest? Write another strongly worded letter?" He stepped closer to Ji-hoon, towering over him. "We have crushed species stronger than yours. Your restraint is not wisdom. It is cowardice." Ji-hoon looked up at the massive alien without flinching. "Marshal, please. We are asking nicely. Do not continue down this path." "Or what?" Kravik leaned down until his face was level with Ji-hoon's. "Tell me, little human. What will you do?" For just a moment, something flickered in Ji-hoon's eyes. Something old and tired and sad. Then it was gone, replaced by that same diplomatic calm. "We will do what we must," Ji-hoon said softly. "We are trying very hard to avoid that. Please, listen to what we are saying." Kravik turned to address the entire council. "The Zelthian Empire announces expanded military exercises in Sector 7. Our fleet will conduct live-fire training for the next 6 months. If human colonies happen to be in that sector," he shrugged. "Sector 7 contains 8 human colony worlds," Ji-hoon said. 17 million people live there. You are demanding we abandon our homes. "I am informing you of military operations," Kravik corrected. "What you do with that information is your concern." Thesson pulsed with what might have been concern. "Marshal Kravik. Perhaps a compromise." "My people do not compromise with prey," Kravik said flatly. Ji-hoon stood very still. Around him, other species whispered among themselves. Some felt uncomfortable with Kravik's aggression, but none felt truly worried. humanity would protest. Humanity would file appeals. Humanity would probably relocate their colonies rather than fight. That was what they did. That was what they had always done. Marshal Provoke, Ji-hoon said, and his voice carried through the chamber, despite its quietness. I am begging you. Do not do this. You do not understand what you are risking. I understand perfectly, Provoke replied. I am claiming territory from a species too weak to defend it. This is how the galaxy works. Human, perhaps you should have stayed on your little world if you could not accept that reality. Ji-hoon closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he looked directly at Provoke. We left our world because we finally learned to be better than our worst instincts. We came to the stars, hoping we would never have to be what we once were. And you have succeeded in being weak neighbors, Provoke said. Marshal, Ji-hoon said, and now there was something in his voice that made a few representatives pay closer attention. We have a saying on Earth, beware the fury of a patient man. We have been very, very patient. We are asking you, please, do not mistake that patience for inability. Do not push us to show you why we spent the last 3 centuries learning restraint. Provoke laughed again. Threats now? From humanity? How refreshing. Very well. Ambassador, I look forward to seeing what you believe you can do. My fleet enters Sector 7. In 3 days. He turned and strode from the chamber, his footsteps echoing. Ji-hoon stood alone at the center of the council floor. Around him, representatives began to murmur and leave. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked calculating, already wondering how they might benefit from humanity losing colonies. Thesson floated closer. Ambassador Park, I will try to negotiate with him. Thesson floated closer. Ambassador Park, I will try to negotiate with him. Ambassador Park, I will try to negotiate with him. Thank you, Arbiter, Ji-hoon said. But I do not think he will listen. He has decided we are prey. He will not believe otherwise until... He stopped. Until what? Ji-hoon looked at the Arbiter with those tired, sad eyes. Until we prove him wrong. We really hoped it would never come to that. We tried. So hard. He walked from the chamber quietly, without drama or flourish, just as humans had done everything for 47 years. Behind him, species that had never seen a human raise, their voice continued to discuss this latest incident, as if it were merely another day in galactic politics. None of them thought to wonder why humanity had been so insistent. None of them questioned what required such carefully practiced restraint. They would learn soon enough. Commander Min Seo Choi watched the Zelthian fleet appear on her screens like a spreading infection. 89 warships, each one bristling with weapons designed to shatter planets. They moved through human space in formation, advertising their power. They are not even trying to hide their intent, her tactical officer said. Min Seo kept her voice level. Maintain defensive positions around Harmony Station. Evacuate all non-essential personnel from orbital platforms. On Harmony Station, Director Hae Won-song was already organizing the evacuation. She had done this twice before, during Zelthian provocations. Each time, the aliens had stopped just short of actual violence. Each time, humanity had filed protests and done nothing else. She suspected this time would be different. Get the children on transports first, she ordered. Medical staff last. Standard emergency protocols. Her assistant looked frightened. Director, the Zelthian ships are close enough to target us. Should we be preparing for... We prepare for evacuation, Haewon said firmly. Let the fleet handle the rest. In space, the Zelthian fleet spread out, their weapons targeting the small human defense force. Provoke's voice boomed across all frequencies. Human vessels, you are interfering with Zelthian military exercises. Withdraw immediately. Min Seo responded calmly. Marshal Provoke, you are conducting aggressive maneuvers around civilian installations. Please withdraw. You do not want to continue this. Provoke's laugh came through clearly. Still saying please. How charming. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps humans are not even prey animals. Perhaps you are simply pets. His ships moved closer, firing across the bows of human vessels. Warning shots, meant to intimidate. Minceo's ships did not move. Marshal, please. This is your last opportunity to de-escalate. We are asking you nicely to leave our space. I am a Zelthian warrior, Provoke replied. I do not flee from pets. I do not flee from pets. On Earth, in a command center buried beneath Geneva, Admiral Yoon Seo Kim watched the situation unfold. Around her, screens displayed data that the Zelthian fleet could not see. Ship positions, fleet movements, attack patterns. All of it, analyzed, predicted, war-gamed, thousands of times. Next to her stood Dr. Marcus Webb, a xenopsychologist who had spent his career studying human history from an outside perspective. Will he back down? Admiral Kim asked quietly. Dr. Webb shook his head. Warrior culture. To retreat now would humiliate him. He has pushed too far to turn back without losing face. Then he has made his choice. We gave him every chance, Dr. Webb said. 217 warnings. 47 years of patience. We tried everything, except showing him the truth. Admiral Kim pulled up a screen showing Earth's history. Images of ancient wars, industrial slaughter, nuclear weapons, oceans boiling, cities turned to glass. The near death of an entire world. We learned these lessons in blood, she said quietly. We spent 3 centuries teaching ourselves restraint, teaching ourselves to be better. We came to the stars hoping we would never have to remember. Dr. Webb looked at the images. People think violence is about anger. It is not. Real violence, effective violence, is cold, calculated. We became very, very good at it before we learned to stop. He thinks our restraint is weakness, Admiral Kim said. Most predators make that mistake about humans, Dr. Webb replied. They see prey animals. Small, soft, no natural weapons. They do not understand that humans hunted by running prey to death. By refusing to stop. By thinking and adapting. And never, ever, giving up. He gestured at the screens. We did not become the apex predator on Earth by being the strongest. We did it by being relentless. Back in Sector 7, Provoke was growing impatient with human stubbornness. You still do not move? Then perhaps this will motivate you. His flagship fired. Not a warning shot this time. A full weapons strike against an orbital medical platform. The structure exploded. 23 humans died instantly. The communication channels fell absolutely silent. Minceo Choi closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her expression had not changed. But something in her voice was different. Marshal Provoke, you have killed civilians, medical personnel, non-combatants. She paused. We asked you nicely. We gave you every opportunity. Please understand what happens next. Provoke's laughter filled the silence. What happens next? More complaints? More protests? More humans running away? No, Minceo said quietly. We stop asking nicely. She switched to a different frequency, one the Zelthians could not intercept. Admiral Kim, this is Commander Choi. Request authorization to deploy Silent Fleet. Situation has crossed all thresholds. Repeat. Requesting Silent Fleet deployment. On Earth, Admiral Kim looked at her screens. At the dead civilians. At the Zelthian fleet that thought it had won. At 47 years of carefully constructed peace, about to end. Authorization granted, she said. Silent Fleet is go. Rules of engagement. Disable all hostile vessels. 0 casualties if possible. Let us show them exactly why we asked them to please not do this. Minceo took a breath. Confirmed. Executing Silent Fleet deployment. All human vessels. Switch to combat protocols. Authorization. Final warning. Across Sector 7, things began to change. Merchant ships that had been drifting peacefully suddenly shifted position. Cargo vessels opened bays that had never held cargo. Civilian transports dropped camouflage that had hidden their true nature for decades. The Zelthian sensors went mad with new contacts. Hundreds of them. Provoke stared at his screens in confusion, then growing alarm. What is this? Where did these ships come from? Outi. Minseo's voice came back, still calm, still quiet. They were always here, Marshal. We told you. We asked you not to provoke us. You should have listened. The silent fleet powered up weapons that made Zelthian technology look primitive. Targeting systems locked on with precision that should have been impossible. And Minseo gave the order that humanity had hoped they would never have to give. Engage. The first Zelthian ship died without firing a shot. Except it did not die. Provoke watched in confusion as his destroyer's weapons simply stopped working. Then its engines failed. Then its shields collapsed. The ship went dark, drifting, completely disabled, but intact. Report, he roared. Sir. They hit our power distribution nodes. Surgical strikes. Multiple points of failure. The entire ship is... His tactical officer's voice cut off. As another vessel went dark, the human ships moved like nothing Provoke had ever seen. They did not fly like military vessels. They flowed like hunting animals, each one covering others, moving in patterns that seemed random, but clearly were not. Commander Minseo Choi watched her screens with professional detachment. Target weapons first, engines second. Life support never. Precision strikes only. I want every crew member alive to tell this story. Her tactical officer worked quickly. Ma'am, their formation is collapsing. They are trying to regroup, but our tracking has their patterns predicted 8 moves ahead. Of course it does, Minseo said. We have been watching them for 10 years. We know how they think, how they move, what they will do before they do it. Captain Jaewon Lee commanded the flagship of the Silent Fleet, a vessel that had pretended to be a mining ship for 3 decades. Now it showed its true nature. Weapons that could crack a moon firing with restraint that required inhuman precision. This is Silent Fleet actual to all vessels, he transmitted. Reminder. We are not here to kill. We are here to teach. Disable only. Every Zelthian who survives today will remember that humanity chose mercy. His gunners were artists, striking power conduits the width of a human hand from 10,000 kilometers away. Every shot, perfect. Every target, disabled. No casualties. Provoke's fleet tried to fight back. They fired wildly, desperately. Human ships dodged with impossible accuracy, their computers predicting firing solutions before Zelthian gunners finished thinking them. 3 minutes into the engagement, 15 Zelthian ships were disabled. 6 minutes, 38 ships dark. Provoke screamed orders, trying to rally his forces. But it was like fighting shadows. Every time his ships moved, human vessels were already positioned to counter. Every attack was predicted, avoided, turned against them. How? He roared. How are they doing this? His intelligence officer's voice shook. Sir, their tracking systems. They have been recording our every movement for years. Every training exercise, every patrol, every combat drill. 10 minutes, 62 ships, disabled. And then Provoke understood something that made his blood run cold. The human ships were not damaged, not even scratched. The Zelthian fleet was being systematically dismantled, and humanity had not taken a single casualty. This was not a battle. This was a demonstration. All ships, retreat. Full retreat, Provoke ordered. Sir, half our fleet cannot move, and the humans are blocking escape vectors. Minseo's voice came through on all Zelthian frequencies. Marshal Provoke, we are transmitting medical supplies and life support equipment to your disabled vessels. Your crews are not in danger. Please instruct your remaining ships to power down weapons. If you continue to fight, we will disable them too. We really prefer not to. Provoke stared at his screens. Human ships were indeed approaching disabled Zelthian vessels. Not to finish them off, but to help. Providing supplies. Ensuring life support. Saving the lives of warriors who had just killed human civilians. Why? He whispered. On Earth, Admiral Kim watched the battlefield like a chess master, reviewing a game. Status? 89 Zelthian vessels engaged. 89 disabled. 0 casualties on either side. Total time. 14 minutes. Her tactical officer paused. Ma'am? Zelthian reinforcements are emerging from jump. 200 additional ships. Admiral Kim's expression did not change. Transmit the battlefield. Feed to them. Let them see what happened here. Rind. 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 The reinforcement fleet arrived ready for battle. They saw 89 disabled warships. They saw human vessels providing medical aid to enemy crews. They saw their people alive but utterly defeated. And they stopped. Their commander's transmission came through, voice tight with shock. This is War Chief Telkrin. We are holding position. Minseo responded immediately. War Chief, we have disabled Marshal Provoke's fleet without killing anyone. We can do the same to your forces if necessary. Or you can withdraw peacefully. We prefer peace. We always prefer peace. Telkrin was silent for a long moment. You defeated 89 warships in 14 minutes without taking casualties. Yes. You disabled them without killing them. Yes. Why? Minseo's voice was tired. Because we told you. We asked you please do not provoke us. Not because we could not fight. Because we did not want to. Because we know exactly how good we are at fighting, and it frightens us. In his disabled flagship, Provoke finally managed to restore basic communications. He reached out to Telkrin. War Chief, do not engage. Do not. They were holding back. All this time, they were holding back. Admiral Kim began broadcasting on all frequencies, her transmission reaching across the sector. This is Admiral Yunseo Kim of the Human Defense Force. For 47 years, humanity has been a peaceful member of the Galactic Council. We shared technology. We built relationships. We asked nicely for respect and dignity. We warned you, repeatedly, that our restraint was a choice. She pulled up Earth's historical records, images that made several alien species recoil. This is what humanity did to itself before we learned better. These are the weapons we built. These are the wars we fought. We nearly destroyed our entire world 3 times. We invented extinction and stared into it and decided we did not like what we saw. Images of nuclear weapons. Biological warfare. Nanoscale gray goo scenarios. Planet-killing asteroids redirected as weapons. Technologies that made current galactic weapons look like children's toys. We came to the stars carrying this history. We promised ourselves we would never repeat it. We spent 300 years learning restraint, learning patience, learning to be better than our worst instincts. The transmission showed human soldiers, small and soft compared to other species, but moving with efficiency that spoke of endless training. We are persistence predators from a death world. We evolved by hunting animals stronger and faster than ourselves. We won by refusing to give up. By tracking prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. By thinking, adapting, never stopping. More images. Human history of warfare. Ancient, medieval, modern, future. An unbroken line of learning to fight more effectively. We ask you not to provoke us because we remember what we are when we stop being civilized. We wanted to protect you from that. We wanted to protect ourselves from becoming that again. The broadcast ended with the image of the disabled Zelthian fleet and human ships providing medical aid. We showed you restraint today. We disabled your ships without killing your people because we meant what we said. We want peace. We choose peace. But do not ever mistake that choice for weakness. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as useful prey animals sat in stunned silence. They had learned too late why humanity said please. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session 3 hours after the battle. Representatives crowded the chamber, all demanding answers. Some were frightened. Others were angry. All of them were confused. Ambassador Ji-hoon Park stood at the center of the chamber, waiting calmly. You lied to us. The Vorian representative, a species of avian warriors, shrieked. You concealed military capability. This is a violation of council law. Ji-hoon shook his head slowly. We concealed nothing. We told you exactly what we had. You saw merchant ships and assumed that was all they could be. We never claimed to be helpless. We simply chose not to demonstrate our capabilities unless forced. Arbiter Thesson pulsed with agitation. Ambassador, you defeated 89 warships in 14 minutes. Without suffering damage. The Zelthian Empire is one of the most powerful military forces in known space. How is this possible? Because we have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Ji-hoon replied quietly. While most species developed spaceflight and encountered others, humanity was isolated. We fought only ourselves. We became very, very good at it. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. Ancient armies numbering in hundreds of thousands. Medieval siege warfare. Industrial-scale slaughter. Nuclear weapons reducing cities to shadows. Biological weapons that killed by the millions. Technologies that could boil oceans or crack continents. This is what humanity did to itself, Ji-hoon said. We developed weapons that could end all life on our planet. We nearly used them. Multiple times. The Cold War. The resource conflicts. The Grey Goo Crisis. Each time, we came within hours of extinction. Dr. Min-jun Park, a human historian, stepped forward. Most species join the galactic community before they develop extinction-level weapons. You achieve spaceflight, you meet others, you learn cooperation. Humanity was different. We were alone. Our only opponents were ourselves. He brought up more data. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We did not have claws, or fangs, or armor. We had endurance and intelligence. We tracked prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to think dozens of moves ahead. We adapted to any environment, any situation. The Draknor representative, a massive crystalline being, rumbled with confusion. But you are so small. So weak physically. Yes, Dr. Park agreed. On Earth, we were prey for other predators. Large cats, bears, wolves, all of them stronger than us. So we learned to make tools. We learned to cooperate. We learned to think our way out of problems. We became the apex predator on our planet, not by being the strongest, but by being the smartest and most relentless. Ji-hoon continued. When we finally achieved spaceflight and discovered we were not alone, we were terrified. Not of you, of ourselves. We knew what we were capable of. We had the historical records. The weapons still existed in storage vaults. Locked away, but not destroyed. Why not destroy them? Thesson asked. Don, Ongrit Meng, because forgetting how to make weapons does not make you peaceful, Ji-hoon replied. It makes you vulnerable. We chose to remember what we had done, to understand our capacity for violence, and to consciously choose not to use it unless absolutely necessary. An intelligence officer from the Kasiri Union stood, tentacles waving in agitation. Our analysis of your military doctrine is disturbing. Your tactics assume fighting enemies with superior technology. Your training scenarios involve combating forces that outnumber you. Your strategies focus on asymmetric warfare. Of course they do, Dr. Park said. For most of human history, Our enemies were other humans who had temporary technological advantages. One group would invent better weapons, another would adapt, create countermeasures, develop new tactics. We spent thousands of years in an arms race with ourselves. He showed battle scenarios. Human forces using guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, information dominance, attacking supply lines, turning enemy strengths into weaknesses. We learned to fight smarter, not harder. We learned that the best battle is the one you win before fighting. We learned that information is more valuable than firepower. We learned all of this by fighting opponents who thought exactly like us, who were just as clever, just as determined. The Vorian representative spoke again, more quietly now. The Zelthian fleet never had a chance. No, Ji-hoon agreed. We had been tracking their movements for 10 years. We knew their tactics, their formations, their response patterns. We ran simulations of that exact battle 8,000 times. We knew every possible outcome before the first shot was fired. This is terrifying, Thesson said. It should be, Ji-hoon replied. It terrifies us too. That is why we ask nicely. That is why we said please. We were trying to avoid showing you this because once you see it, you can never unsee it. You will always know what humanity is capable of. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, Kravik's voice came through on the communication system. He was still on his disabled flagship, but repairs had restored basic functions. Ambassador Park, I owe you an apology. No, Marshal, Ji-hoon said quietly. You owe an apology to the 23 humans who died on that medical platform. They were healers. They devoted their lives to helping others. They died because I failed to make you understand our warnings. You said please. Kravik's voice was heavy. 217 times. You said please. I thought you were weak. We are not weak, Marshal. We are restrained. There is a difference. Ji-hoon paused. Do you understand now why we asked you not to provoke us? I understand that I am fortunate to be alive. Your people could have killed my entire fleet. Yes, but you did not. No. Because we meant what we said. We want peace. We choose peace. We spent 3 centuries learning to prefer talking to fighting, but we never forgot how to fight. We just stopped wanting to. Another representative spoke up. You have weapons more powerful than what you showed us, do you not? Dr. Park answered. Yes. We have antimatter weapons in storage. We have technologies that could destabilize stars. We have biological weapons that could sterilize planets. We have nanoscale weapons that could disassemble matter. All of it locked away. All of it monitored. All of it guarded by people who remember why we stopped using such things. Why tell us this now? Thesson asked. Because you need to understand, Ji-hoon said. We did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to escape our own history. We came hoping we would never have to be what we once were. But we brought that history with us, and we remember it clearly. He looked around the chamber. We asked you not to provoke us because we were trying to protect you, not from our weapons, from our willingness to use them if you left us no other choice. We are a species that survived by never giving up, by adapting to any threat, by doing whatever was necessary to continue existing. What happens now? The Kasiri intelligence officer asked. Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. Now you know the truth. Humanity is not weak. We are not prey. We are persistence predators who learn to cooperate, who develop technologies that could end worlds, and who consciously chose to build instead of destroy. We want to be your partners. We want to be your friends. But you needed to understand that our kindness is a choice, not a necessity. The council chamber remained silent. Species that had dismissed humanity, now understanding what they had missed. They had learned too late, but perhaps not too late to matter. 6 months passed, and the galaxy was different. The wreckage of the disabled Zelthian fleet had been cleared away, though not by Zelthian hands alone. Human engineering teams worked alongside Zelthian crews, teaching them how to repair the damage, sharing technology that made the ships better than before. On Harmony Station, director Haewon Song watched children play in the rebuilt plaza. Human children, Zelthian children, even a few Vorian young ones. They laughed and chased each other without understanding that 6 months ago, their species had been at war. They adapt quickly, said a deep voice behind her. She turned to see Provoke standing there, looking uncomfortable in his formal diplomatic attire rather than military armor. Children usually do. Haewon replied. It is the adults who struggle to change. For Haewon. Children. Sampana. Provoke made a rumbling sound that might have been agreement. I came to see the memorial. She led him through the station to a quiet garden. 23 names were carved into a wall of dark stone. The medical personnel who had died when Provoke's fleet fired on the platform. He stood before it for a long time in silence. I told myself they were acceptable losses, he finally said. I told myself that war required sacrifice. I told myself that strength was more important than mercy. And now? Haewon asked gently. Now I understand that I killed healers because I could not imagine being defeated by people who asked nicely. He reached out, touching one of the names. I will carry this shame until I die. We do not want you to carry shame, Haewon said. We want you to carry understanding. We want you to remember that every person on this wall had a life, had people who loved them, had dreams that ended because someone chose violence over patience. Provoke turned to look at her. How can you stand here with me? How can your people work with my crews? We killed your friends. Provoke, we killed your friends because we remember what we were. Haewon replied. Humans killed each other by the millions once. We nearly destroyed our entire species because we could not imagine peace. Then, we learned. We changed. We chose to be better. She gestured at the memorial. We honor these people by making sure their deaths meant something. By making sure the galaxy learns what we learned. In the Galactic Council chambers, a very different scene was unfolding. Ambassador Ji-hoon Park stood before the assembled representatives, but this time he was not defending humanity's actions. He was listening to requests. The Dorvian and Kelesh have been in a border conflict for 18 years, Arbiter Thesson explained. Both sides have requested human mediation. Ji-hoon glanced at the two species representatives. Why us? The Dorvian ambassador, a floating gas being, spoke carefully. Because you understand violence intimately enough to prevent it. You know what war costs. You know how to step back from the edge. The Kelesh representative, an insectoid warrior, added, and because you proved that restraint is not weakness. Both sides respect strength. You have shown you possess both. Ji-hoon considered this. We will send mediators. But understand, we will not impose solutions. We will help you find them yourselves. That is all we ask, the Dorvian said. Later, Ji-hoon walked through the council gardens with Provoke. The massive Zelthian moved slowly, still recovering from injuries sustained when his flagship was disabled. You said something during the battle, Provoke said. You said it frightens you. How good you are at fighting. It does. Ji-hoon confirmed. Every human carries the history of what we did to ourselves. We know exactly what we are capable of. That knowledge is a weight we carry every day. Is that why you came to the stars? To escape that weight? No. Ji-hoon said quietly. We came to the stars to prove we could carry it without being crushed by it. We came to show ourselves that we could be better than our worst moments. They stopped at a fountain, watching water flow in the station's artificial gravity. I have been studying human history, Provoke said. Your wars, your weapons, the way you nearly destroyed yourselves. He paused. The thing that disturbs me most is not the violence. It is that you stopped. Stopped? You had weapons that could end worlds. You had enemies. You had every reason to use them. But you chose not to. How? My people. We respect only strength. We take what we want because we can. How did humanity learn to be strong and choose not to take? Ji-hoon smiled sadly. We looked into the abyss and realized we were staring at ourselves. We understood that if we continued, there would be no one left to claim victory. So we made a choice. We decided that survival was not enough. We wanted to deserve survival. On Earth, a group of young alien students toured the museums of human history. Their guide was an elderly woman who had lived through the Grey Goo Crisis, one of humanity's closest brushes with extinction. This chamber contains weapons we will never use again, she explained, gesturing at sealed vaults. But we do not destroy them. Do you know why? Why? A young Zelthian student raised a claw. To remember what you were capable of? Partly, the guide agreed. But also because destroying the weapons does not destroy the knowledge of how to make them. That knowledge lives in our minds, in our history, in our culture. We cannot forget how to be violent, but we can choose not to be. She led them to a window overlooking a city rebuilt 3 times after being destroyed by war. We show you this, not to frighten you, but to give you hope. If humanity could learn to step back from extinction, any species can. Violence is not destiny. It is a choice. Back on Harmony Station, the Council was finalizing new protocols. Human assessment of threat levels will now be given equal weight to military intelligence, Thesson announced. Human mediators will be available for conflict resolution. Human historical records will be integrated into Council education programs. Ji-hoon stood as formal recognition was given, but he looked tired. After the session, Admiral Yunseo Kim found him in an observation deck, staring at the stars. You do not look happy for someone who just elevated humanity's status, she said. We did not want to be elevated, Ji-hoon replied. We wanted to be trusted. We wanted to be seen as peaceful people who worked hard to overcome violent instincts. He gestured at the stars. Now we are the species everyone fears and respects. We have become what we left Earth to escape. No, Admiral Kim said firmly. We proved we could be fierce without being cruel. We protected ourselves without becoming conquerors. We showed the galaxy what we learned, that the strongest warrior is the one who never has to fight. But we did fight, because we had no choice. And when we did, we fought with precision and mercy. We disabled enemies without killing them. We provided aid to those who attacked us. We showed them exactly what we meant when we said please. She put a hand on his shoulder. We did not become monsters, Ji-hoon. We became what we always hoped to be, strong enough to be kind. In the plaza below, human and alien children continued to play. Former enemies worked side by side, repairing damage. Species that had dismissed humanity now sought their guidance. The galaxy had learned why humanity said please. They learned that restraint was not weakness, that patience was not cowardice, that asking nicely was not surrender. They learned that humanity had spent 3 centuries caging their capacity for violence, not because they could not fight, but because they remembered too well what happened when they did. And in learning this, the galaxy began to change. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the example of a species that chose to be better than their history. Provoke stood at the memorial one last time before returning to his homeworld. He looked at the 23 names and made a promise. I will tell my people what I learned. I will teach them that strength without wisdom is destruction. I will show them that the truly powerful do not need to prove it. He touched the stone gently. I will remember that you died because I was too proud to listen when someone asked nicely. As his ship departed, carrying the lesson learned too late but not too late to matter, humanity continued their quiet work of building peace. They had shown the galaxy their strength. Now they would show them something harder. How to put that strength aside and choose cooperation. The strongest warrior, after all, is the one who never has to fight. And humanity had learned that lesson in blood and fire and near extinction. They would not let the galaxy forget it, but they would also not let the galaxy repeat it. That was the promise humanity had made when they reached for the stars. Not to conquer, but to protect. Not to dominate, but to guide. Not to be feared, but to be trusted. They had asked the galaxy nicely to let them keep that promise. The galaxy had learned to listen. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.